Season of Discovery game balance. I'd say that what's happening at the very highest level of gameplay is just one factor of determining how balanced the game is, but it is a very interesting one. So let's check out the top 10 raids and see how they managed to pull it off, focusing primarily on who they brought to raid. We're going to be looking at the first raid, the fastest raid, first, and stacking onto the right side, you're going to see the second and third place group, and notice that they have very similar kill times on the bosses. Now, what you might not be noticing is that all the numbers on the screen are actually changing because I'm cycling through the top 10, so you may want to rewind this, but basically only the final digit is changing on most of them. And if you're worried about faction balance, it's about 50-50 at the top end. And when it comes to the roles, tanks are not as popular as normal. You just got one, and they're a slightly more melee DPS than ranged. Allies are super overrepresented on Alliance. Shamans are about average representation on Horde. All the other tanks, other than Prot Warrior, they see a place in the raid. Priests are smoking everybody, but Holy Pallies and Shamans, you gotta remember, they're only on one faction, so they're better than they look. Warriors are doing really, really good, as are all the non-rogue melee options, basically. Remember that Shamans and Paladins, you pretty much have to double their representation. As for ranged DPS, if you're an Ellie Shaman, yeah, get fucked, I guess. Frost Mage, I think that's actually just getting confused with the healers. I don't believe anybody's taking a Frost Mage. But now let's check out the damage profiles. Here's the number one raid. This is what I want you to focus on. What is the top damage dealer's class? How spiky does that graph look like? That graph is DPS over time. And when you're using casters, you like to stack stuff up in AoE, right? That would make it more spiky. What do you think happens when you're using classes without resources, such as warriors? It's a little flatter, like you can see here. You're probably just staying in combat a little more because you're not spending as much time grouping up things. Instead, you're able to just do a little bit of consistent damage at all points in time. So try to pay attention to that. You may want to replay this if you didn't catch that trend, but flatter charts on the melee stacked groups, more spiky on the ones that are trying to lean into their caster base. Now, you might be wondering, well, what did this average out to? I'm going to now use a dissolve feature. The ones that look more deep fried have more variance. What does that mean? At the top, it's not very deep fried. Mage is very represented. Everywhere else, look at how deep fried the bars are. That means that there is a lot of different classes represented at that point in the graph. So I would say it's pretty balanced in the best groups.